Today, we are in the city of Lynchburg, Virginia to see a very historic trip. We will be following Norfolk and Western 611 as it pulls the Cavalier from Lynchburg, Virginia to Petersburg, Virginia. The first part of our trip will begin at Montview Yard on the former Southern Railroad. We are at the yard office where the train will pull forward to pick up the passengers. North-south track, which means it's going to head towards it. This side heads towards Atlanta and Washington. It's going to have to go on a wide somewhere up ahead and then turn. This west track.
Well, this train looks checked. I forgot.
As the passengers begin to board, let's go to the front to see 611. Norfolk and Western 611 was built in May of 1950. 611, along with 612 and 613, were the last batch of J-Class 484s built for the Norfolk and Western Railroad. The Norfolk and Western Railroad already had 10 other J-Class locomotives, ranging from 600 to 610. 611, along with the 12 other J-Class locomotives, pulled the Norfolk and Western's famous passenger trains such as the Powhatan Arrow, the Pocahontas, and the Cavalier. All three of these passenger trains ran from Norfolk, Virginia to Cincinnati, Ohio, traversing over the same rails as today's Cavalier will travel today. Then on January 23, 1956, an NW J-Class 611 derailed along the stretch of the Tug Fork River near Cedar, West Virginia. It was determined that excessive speed around a curve near this wreck caused the 611 to tip over on its side and crash into the river. By the end of the year, 611 was back up in service. Then in October of 1959, 611 pulled several farewell steam excursions before being retired. Unfortunately, 611 was the only Class J locomotive to survive the scrapper's torch, and sat on display at the Virginia Museum of Transportation in Roanoke. Then in 1982, 611 was restored for the Norfolk Southern's first excursion program. Then in 1994, 611 pulled her last excursions before an abrupt end to the Norfolk Southern's first excursion program. Then, 611 was put back on display at the Museum of Transportation in Roanoke. It looked like 611 would never run again. That is, until June 28, 2013. A group called the Fire Up 611 announced that they would restore 611 to working order. Then after 2 years of work, on March 31st, 2015, 611's firebox was lit for the first time in over 20 years, which brings us to right now. This is the locomotive shop complex here at Montview Yard. As 611 is waiting to depart, a southbound freight train passes by. Let's look at some of the passenger cars on this train today. The first car, Norfolk & Western 1407, is 611's tool car. The Tennessee, New Jersey, and Louisiana are all owned by the Norfolk Southern Railroad. The Paul Revere is owned by the Orville Railroad Historical Society. The last car on the train is the Hollywood Beach, which is owned by a private owner. The caboose here pays homage to the predecessor railroad, the Southern Railway. Now let's go to our first location. Our first location is on Route 660, which is also known as East Brook Road, where it crosses over Opossum Creek. Now we move to a railroad crossing at Road 674, just off of Highway 460. Florida, NS-2829, and the New York are all owned by Norfolk Southern Railroad for their passenger car fleet. Our next location is on another railroad crossing at Road 628, just off of Highway 460. Now we get some good pacing shots of 611 as it heads towards Petersburg. The next place we catch 611 was in a small town called Green Bay, Virginia, on Road 623.
And when we're done with this, I'm going to change the big one. Oh, really? It should be the 150th anniversary for the Union Pacific for 3 or 4 years. This thing going slow because we're on the hill.
Due to a fire up the line, 611 had to make an unscheduled stop here. Apparently, a fire broke out somewhere up the line, causing a power outage to happen that set the signals all to red in this section of the line. Norfolk Southern had to send a maintenance crew to solve the problem. While the problem was being sorted out, 611 was given a slow order until it reached the town of Crewe, Virginia.
lot of people don't remember this. I remember Milford. In the mail? Yeah. I did one time right on TV. They used to work in the mail time. The actually thinking about bringing it back. That would be good. I don't know where it's going to go. Is this a hill? It sounds like he's having fun.
Well, we couldn't ask for better.
If he stopped there, it would take a while for him to get settled down and maybe they'll be fine. Oh, this is a real house. Yeah, they redid it.
Our next location is on a small service road near the intersection of Road 621 and Highway 360. Connellsville Inn and the Franklin Inn are both owned by the Washington, D.C. chapter NRHS. The Crescent Harbor and Coach 539 are owned by the Watauga Valley Railroad Historical Society and Museum. Quick, everybody duck! Here comes 611! Soon we reach the town of Crewe, Virginia. Norfolk Southern has a yard here. This is also a division point for the Blue Ridge District and the Norfolk District. The Blue Ridge District runs from here to the city of Roanoke. The Norfolk District runs from here to its namesake city. 611 was scheduled to make a stop here. Right beside the railroad yard is the Crewe Railroad Museum. They have some equipment from Norfolk and Western days, along with some historical items on display. Back in the days of steam, this field next to the rail yard would have been where the roundhouse, coaling tower, and water tower used to be. These facilities were torn down in 1963. We decided to go to the town of Blackstone, Virginia, to catch the 611 as it ran through town. St. Augustine is owned by the Watauga Valley Railroad Historical Society and Museum. The next location is at a railroad crossing just east of the intersection of Road 620 and Highway 460. Our next location is on a railroad crossing on Road 621, just off of Highway 460. Now we have reached our last location before reaching the town of Petersburg. We are at a railroad crossing on Road 632, just off of Highway 460. Now we have arrived in the historic town of Petersburg, Virginia. This building is the South Side Depot. It was constructed in 1854 by the South Side Railroad, which later became part of the Norfolk and Western, and later today, Norfolk Southern Railroad. The city of Petersburg owns the depot, and the National Park Service plans to put a visitor center into the center of the station, highlighting the Civil War. This building here is the Petersburg Union Station. This station was built from 1909 to 1910 for the Norfolk and Western Railroad. This station remained in service until 1971, when Amtrak took over passenger services. But today, 611 has pulled in with the Cavalier. The passengers have disembarked to go eat lunch and explore the old Petersburg area. To our knowledge, this is the first time in 36 years since a passenger train has pulled into the station here, ever since Amtrak canceled the Mountaineer service and the Hilltopper service in 1979. The Mountaineer operated between Norfolk, Virginia and Chicago, Illinois via Cincinnati, Ohio on the route of the Pocahontas. The Mountaineer lasted until 1977, when it was discontinued and replaced with the Hilltopper. It ran from Boston, Massachusetts to Catlettsburg, Kentucky over much of the Mountaineer's route. Then, that service was discontinued in 1979.
These cars are older than the steam engine.
While we were about, we decided to see the old McIlwain house. The household was built around 1794 by Erasmus Gill. The household was named after Archibald Graham McIlwain, a Petersburg industrialist and financier. He made it his household from 1831 to 1878. It remained with the McIlwain family until 1971, when it was moved to its present location and saved from being demolished. If you want to, you can also rent the house for the night. This is also where they filmed the movie Lincoln. After seeing the house, it was time to leave Petersburg to chase 611 back to Lynchburg. Our first place we catch 611 is at a railroad crossing on Road 743 just off of Highway 460. The first train we see here is an eastbound freight train. Back in Petersburg, a tree fell onto the railroad tracks, blocking 611's path. After an hour of waiting, 611 finally came. Jackson Square is owned by the Mid-America Railcar Leasing. The next place we see 611 is at another railroad crossing on Road 627, just off of Highway 460. Now we get some pacing action as we follow 611 on Road 634 into Blackstone. Now we see 611 going underneath us at a road overpass on Highway 460 Business just west of Blackstone, Virginia. Now we are arriving in June, Virginia, on the old grounds of the old roundhouse. .611 had to make another stop here in Crewe before leaving towards Lynchburg. We see her again at a gas station in Crewe. I think NYC 43 is owned by the United Railroad Historical Society of New Jersey, but I'm not quite sure on that bit. Now we go back to Green Bay, Virginia, but this time at a railroad crossing on Road 673, just southwest of the bridge.
Yep. Everybody be quiet.
I got a list of it. We get the emergency shift that we can rush it up to that 70 meters. Something like that.
Yep. Oh, here he is.
next place we see the train is at Road 635, just off of Road 654, which connects with Highway 360 and Highway 15. The Empire Builder car is owned by the San Luis and Rio Grande Railroad out in Colorado. .611 had to make another unscheduled stop here. We're on Road 671. A downpour began just after we arrived here. Then we drove up the road to catch 611 at a nearby grade crossing. The Stampede Pass car is owned by Pax Rail. Now we are going to the town of Appomattox, Virginia. We are at the depot here to see 611 as it roars by.
Would you like to take some pictures?
Now we go to our final location, the Trestle Bridges on Road 660 near Lynchburg, Tennessee on the former Norfolk and Western Railroad. Now we are back at Montview Yard to end a glorious day of chasing 611 from Lynchburg, Virginia to Petersburg and back. Hope you guys liked this video. See you later.
Yeah, I know it's tough. Alright, copy now.
How old is this thing? It's pretty old. It was built in the 50s.
Oh, that's all.